Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yamunatiravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Samaveta Bhaktavrinda ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Gaur Premanand Hari 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 Bol. So, today we are reading Songbook of Lord Himself, who likes to sing, obviously, not only in the battlefield, many occasions. But today we will read one of these verses which he was singing in the battlefield. And he was singing to Arjuna. In general, I think so. The whole Vedic system was that they were not actually even talking properly in daily life. They were singing all the time. And all we hear the statement that in the spiritual world, every step is a dance and every word is a song. It's hard to believe. But just imagine whole Srimad Bhagavatam. It is all in verses and all in meter and stuff like that. So Vedic culture is to talk in a meter in daily life. Even in recent times, I know in Russian culture there was this poet Pushkin, maybe you heard of Pushkin. And his times was 18th century. It is really common in a higher society, first of all, to speak in French. Another thing is they were talking, and straight away, if you want to express yourself nicely, you compose a metered poetry, express yourself just straight like that. So, in more recent times, there was one scientist who compared letters written by soldiers from First World War to the Second World War. And it was like, wasn't it 20, 30 years difference? And straight away was such a huge difference. Because the guys in the First World War, they were writing very romantic, very full of courage, full of patriotism, stuff like that. And the Second World War, Germans, and Russians too, they were writing quite a bit of problems, not so much poetry, not so much high stuff anymore. And currently, I think, current generation has a huge problem, express themselves in a few sentences, If you have to write an essay, more than one page, it's a huge thing. I remember in my time in the school, writing in the essay in the 12 pages was like like nothing. You just give a subject and okay.
But now we have emojis.
Sorry? Yeah?
Now we have emojis.
Emojis? Emojis. How much you can express in emojis? Yeah. So Krishna was pretty fired up, expressing himself in such a poetry. So verse today is 22 from chapter 8, which is called Attaining the Supreme. What is actually the 7th chapter name? Knowledge of the Absolute. Yeah, knowledge. Knowledge is not enough. You have to obtain the Supreme. So here Krishna is explaining. Purusha sa parah partha bhaktya labhyata stananyaya yasyanta sthani bhutani yena sarvamidam tatam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than all, is obtainable by unalloyed devotion. Although He is present in His abode, He is all-pervading, and everything is situated within Him. Who is talking? Who is talking? Krishna is talking, right? So why He's talking like Him? It is pretty amazing, right? He doesn't talk personal like to Himself, attaining me. That will be coming later, in 10th chapter, 12th chapter. Then his heart starts to melt and open, and he says, yes, the guys, the yogis who worship me personally, they are most dear to me. But apparently, attaining the Supreme, the idea of Supreme as such, it is very applicable to anyone. If I would say any of the person in this room, I bless you to achieve your goal. Everybody can relate, right? Whatever goal you have, you feel that person relates to that. He's happy, he's blessing, he's giving some good wind, blessings. So Supreme is the same thing in the Vedic system, which is very common in the Vedic literature, saying that obtaining Supreme. So therefore it doesn't matter on which stage of life or which varna or ashrama you are, there is some kind of a goal you want to achieve. So therefore, to catch those people, there's a interesting thing, round thing, it's called dream catcher. Yeah? You have seen those? Have you caught any dream? So dream catcher, the wandering soul catcher. The statements of Vedas are very flowery and very nice and very attractive to everyone. So Krishna is following because Gita is Gita Upanishad. It's a kind of taught and explained in a language understandable and interesting to not only Arjuna but all the people who are standing there, because that was the benefit, not talking alone. There was a very secret subject when Krishna was talking to Uddhava, one-to-one, although that knowledge has to be given further on to some certain people, but it was not the thing. So Bhagavad Gita was taught in a huge public. It's just we cannot imagine bigger program, which is so many million people, talking. So therefore, Krishna is really talking a language which is easily understandable to everyone. So Prabhupada is giving commentary. It is clearly stated that the supreme destination from which there is no return is abode of Krishna, the Supreme Person. So goal as such would be a little bit of a different question also, what you want to achieve. But there should be common place in which that what you're searching for is attainable. So abode, which is eternal, full of bliss and wealth, it is understandable. Yeah, there's some nice place. Yeah. Everybody knows there's a better place and the worst place in the material world, so there could be the best place. So therefore, the supreme destination, the place when there is no return, because why would you return from the best place to the worst place which was before? The Brahma Samhita describes this supreme abode as Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, a place where everything is full of spiritual bliss. All the variegatedness manifest there of the quality of spiritual bliss. Nothing there is material. So that is a little bit difficult to understand. What do you think? What Prabhupada says, nothing there is material. How do you understand that? There's nothing material. It's a little bit difficult, right? Because we think everything here is material, right? It's made of something. So what is not material there? Come on, give me some hint.
Everything is spiritual.
Yeah, well, it's spiritual, but what is not material? So what material we experience here, which is not there?
It's only in our head. Separate from Krishna means material, that we think something.
That's very high subject, but it's actually true. Material is like not connected. Material is made of something which we not really understand what it is. You know, all the materialists which are searching and studying the matter now. You know, this huge, how many millions of billions they spend on this? Particle accelerator, you know. And they just bump one small particle to the other, ping, you know, with a huge speed, and like, wow, what happens, you know? And there's some boson, you know, particle of God appears. Oh yeah. How you can find out about things of creation just by bumping one thing to another, you know? If you understand how the car is built, you just speed up two cars and bump to each other. It would be smart, you know? Yeah, but they don't find how they are built. They find out how they react on crashing, you know, how they resilient to destruction, not how you build it, you know. And this is a famous example, probably I've told already, that this primeval explosion, or I don't know how you call it, it is so ridiculously strange logic that just imagine there is a place where they keep all the old cars, you know, how you call it, Schrott, yeah, Schrott, yeah. Old cars, and there's a very old cars, and there's like, you know, 5-year-old cars. Germans like to change the cars pretty often, you know, and they're pretty good, you know. You just dump it, you know, buy a new one. Probably get some refund for the metal. And there's a huge hurricane, you know, coming, you know, huge whirlwind, and going across that Schrott, you know, and everything cools down, and you see in the middle of the field there's one car, completely perfect condition, with a key in ignition, and working, the engine is working. How would it be strange, you know? It's just illogical. The chaos, the thing which is completely unintelligent, cannot create something which is so complicated, you know. Just try to bang, you know, any amount of small metal pieces, you know. It's not like it's a relativity theory, how small a chance it is. It's still possible, you know. Just take the small pieces of metal and put them in a sack and bang it for how many ages, and finally you open up and the Swiss watch come along. Right? So it's impossible. So therefore, this whole theory of something intelligent and nice coming out from the accident is just impossible. You know, just complete lack of intelligence that Prabhupada is just, sometimes it's just rascals, you know, just rascals. So, but nothing material means, first of all, the matter we understand it works on itself. When we look at the things, we think there is no God here. Matter just works by its nature. That's the first imposition, first conclusion which we come. We look around. Do you see, you know, those small fairies, you know, opening the flowers, like you tell a story of kids, you know, in the morning, you know, small fairies, they go around and they put the water in the flowers and they open in the morning, you know, and in the evening they close them, you know, like this. We don't see them. So we don't see the finger of God, His presence in anything at all, due to our lack of, how to say, deep vision. Okay, let's turn back to the cars. If you want the child to look at a car, what he will see? Maybe color. Yeah, if he's like 10 years old, maybe he recognizes this is Mercedes or BMW or whatever. You know, kids are really smart boys, and then straight away, this is BMW, or this is that's oh yeah, that's some Ferrari thing, you know. But generally, we don't recognize a same exactly car when the watch overlooked by the guy who is working in the repair shop. What he does see? He just hears the yellow model and this and that and what's inside. And if it's working, you can hear there's some kind of mishappening there. His vision of the exactly same thing is much deeper, you know. An engineer who builds that car, he can tell every single particle how it's working. So we can say, due to our ignorance, we don't see those things, how they are happening. So material basically means there is some kind of law, some kind of thing which works on itself without connection to the Lord. That's the first of all. So in the spiritual world, there's nothing material. That means there's nothing works on its own, or at least doesn't work without, being harmony with the Lord's will or His plan. That's one of the things which we have to understand what's material. So spiritual world is nothing material. As explained in 7th chapter, missed something? As far as material world is concerned, although the Lord is always in His supreme abode, He is nonetheless all-pervading by His material energy. So now we come to the interesting part, that Lord is existing somewhere. Very, very nice abode, everything is spiritual. He is residing there, but still, somehow He is connected. Or even more, as it said here, pervading, like interfering, you know, taking part in it by His material energy. So this is the habit which we have to gradually develop, of seeing that here, Lord, as a kind of presence, there is, but not directly by Himself, but by His energy. Which is, it's quite a high advanced consciousness. You okay? I'm too fast? No? Okay. So, this is Prabhupada's blessing and Krishna's blessing for us all to learn from Bhagavad Gita, to gradually come to this level of vision, to see that everything in this world is expansion, a variegatedness of energy of Lord. Okay, it's called material energy, whatever it is. So, by His spiritual and material energies, both. So, spiritual energy in the spiritual world, material energy in this world, He is present everywhere, both in material and spiritual universes. Yasyat hastani means that everything is sustained with Him, with either His spiritual or material energy. The Lord is all-pervading by these two energies. Something's missing? Yeah, the Lord has only two energies? Marginalities, first of all. Although, being very precise, we are spiritual energy. So by these two energies. So the spiritual energy is divided again by His eternal spiritual potency and marginal potency, which will come later. Probably not in this verse. So next thing, to enter Krishna's supreme abode. So because the chapter is attaining supreme. So first of all, when you go to travel agency, what ladies talk? They show you nice pictures, right? Have you been traveling recently somewhere? Or passing by the windows of travel agencies? What they show? Beautiful, best pictures, you know. They will never show you the hotels from 2 or 3 stars. They'll always be 5 stars at least. You know. Just recently, I somehow opened Google Maps, and since you are logged in your phone as your Google account, all your favorite stuff, which you marked with a star, is still there after many, many years. And I check my previous travels, and I look at there. Oh, come on, I was there. This was 5-star hotel. I was working with travel agency, and just before season starts, they invite all the agents to show the best stuff because they want to sell the best stuff, you know. First of all, you have to attract the travel agents so they attract the customers. So they allow you to sleep even those best hotels for one night for free, just to attract your attention and understand. So same thing when you are a travel agent somewhere in Germany, a 2EV, whatever, they show you the best pictures, attracting the people. So when we speak here, that Krishna is also doing the same thing. To attract our attention, he has to explain the beauty, the uniqueness of the abode, which expect us, which we're supposed to go. So, how to attain that place? You know, that is already first. There was one of the things that beautiful spiritual energies and many scriptures give more, but here is just main, supreme, ultimate goal. So to enter Krishna's supreme abode or innumerable Vaikuntha planets is possible only by bhakti, devotional service, as clearly indicated here by word bhaktya. Second line, bhaktya labhyas tvanantaya. By devotional service can be achieved unalloyed by unalloyed. So, what is bhaktya? Probably this is most commonly used. We daily use bhakta. Bhakta this, bhakta that, devotee. But this is bhakti. What's your understanding? What's bhakti? What's the quintessence, the most permanent, the most important feature of bhakti as a practice or whatever?
Constant service. Selfless.
Selfless service.
Surrender to the will of the Lord.
Desire, will.
Intention to please Krishna.
Attention, please.
To only act for the pleasure of the Lord.
Yes.
Without any motive.
So those things which I forgot I have notebook here. I prepared also something to say because we are reading so simply the things. Is it working? That actually those processes which were mentioned before, already in previous chapter, there was this interesting verse describing four type of people who come to Krishna. Who knows that verse? Seven, 15 or 16? 16 or 15. So, Gauranga, quote the verse. Exactly, yeah. 7:16. Bhakti mixed with karma. So, bhakti as such, for us, is some kind of activity. So that part, which explains what you have to do something, it gives that aspect of activity. So 7:16, it says, pious man, begin to render devotional service unto me. And there's 3, which relate to the karmis, or to those who want to achieve something. Arto, jigyasur, artati. Those who are distressed, who desire wealth, and inquisitive. So desiring wealth, that means you want to have that wealth in a spiritual world. For whom? For yourself. True. You want the wealth for yourself. You don't think that wealth in the spiritual world is built by and meant for Krishna and his friends. No, I want to go there. I want to get it. And Krishna doesn't mind. Yeah, sure. Why not? That's yours. Actually, he's so one of the qualities. So that's the 6 qualities. He's renounced. He doesn't even claim that's his. He says, all is my father's. All belongs to Nanda Maharaj. Nothing. All, not my cows. You know. This is his cows. You know, Vrinda Devi's land and his cows and everything belongs to anybody else. He doesn't claim. So that's his wealth of renunciation. He can renounce anything. So this was previous chapter, 7th chapter. A few verses later, also Krishna explains that there's a mixture with the knowledge. Oh, sorry. With the liberation. Knowledge also, yeah, but particularly this what I want to mention is liberation. Gauranga, you know the verse of liberation? 7:29. 7:29. Jara marana mokshaya. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. So they don't care so much about wealth anymore. They understand there is a kind of suffering. Right? And if you know the suffering is, you want to get rid of it. So liberation means not only enjoying the place, but more intelligently looking, there's a side effects, which could be the death, the suffering, so on. So always there's 2 things, you know. When you train the dog, there's 2 things. There's something you give him to eat, and also the stick. For donkey, same. You have a carrot and you have a stick from the back. You know. 2 things always. So one thing is attractive. The spiritual world is attracting yourself, and material world from the back is pushing us with the death and old age and disease and stuff like that. So both, you can have maybe desire to obtain something, or you want to have who are into the meditation. So this is more into yoga. So there's bhakti mixed with the karmi, bhakti mixed with the knowledge or liberation. Also bhakti mixed with some kind of desire for mystic perfection. Any of you try to, or attracted to some mystic perfections? No? You've thought about that? What's the most common mystic perfection everybody enjoys? Prabhupada mentioned. To fly, exactly. You know, this is one of the most commonly appreciated and desired perfections, to fly. You know. Whatever it is, airplane or these small things which are most light-weighted. There's just this triangle thing. You know, there was one devotee a couple of months ago. He came here and he's a professional this, how you say? Paragliding, yeah. So this means you just run from the hill, or maybe you have some small engine there, and just some kind of triangle thing, part. Or maybe some of those new high-tech parachutes also can do the same thing. Or most dangerous, there's these paragliding suits, Oh, they are crazy. There's real suiciders, but yeah, you have adrenaline, you're really enjoying it. Just fly. What is flying actually gives you? What kind of feeling? Freedom. From? First of all, you fly, you leave all your things back, whoever there was, kids or friends or or debts, whatever it is, you left it behind. Also, it gives a little bit of a kind of feeling detachment, you're above all things, it doesn't touches you. And also one thing is, this is one interesting class given by Bhakti Vigyan Goswami. He said one of the Upanishads is explained that for people who are poor, he gave special blessings. What's the blessings? Eyes. By seeing everything around you, you think, this is mine. By flying about those things, you think, yes, it all belongs to me. I told you already this nice person which I met in the top of the dry Cecil. And I was walking down already. He was going up with the wife, a little bit tired, sitting there in a chair, whatever, sitting place. My German. And I was saying, alles Gute, or something like this, Try to say things, He was like, oh yeah, you're not German, like this. No, just look there. And he was so proud. He was sitting there, and he said to me, this is all mine. This is all my country, my. So the false ego is so huge. All Germany belongs to him. And for the spaceman who flies somewhere international space station, for him it's everything also too. So the mystical desires of ruling over the material energy are also given by Krishna, and is explained for these 3-4 verses. But gradually he comes to the explaining that besides that, there is this principle of bhakti which makes all other things work, and which we are not really understand. We have to understand that anything which works in this material world, in order to be able to work, has to have some percentage of bhakti inside. Some kind of service. So we mentioned the service, the selflessness, activity, some knowledge, understanding, pleasing. All those principles are originally coming from Krishna. So same thing as we also introduced by Krishna, that it said that the sun in the sky, it's a kind of an eye of Krishna. An eye is not only the one which sees, but also gives a vision. You must have experienced that you sit and you feel uncomfortable. Why? Because somebody is watching your back. He's watching you. Yeah? If you are really sensitive, you feel it, because that eyesight which you are kind of projecting, it interacts. That's how actually the mind works. This is subtle science of perceiving the world around you. The subtle matter of your mind goes around outside your body, takes a shape of that object, not only shape but the quality, and comes back. And then your consciousness kind of swallows, understands it. So if there is no light around you, which is coming either from sun or lamp, he cannot perceive at least the shape, but he can perceive the sound or smell. So all five senses, basically things which mind has in self, this is the particles of the mind, can perceive those things. So exactly the same way, when Krishna wants to interact with the living beings, he expands. He expands his abode, the situation, in the shape of material world. He creates all the planetary systems. Also, he gives the light by which we can see. He gives the smell, he gives the sound. All those things can interact. But also he gives a knowledge how to understand those things. So here, we didn't finish even the purple one. Krishna. Yeah, this is most an inconceivable thing when we talk about. He expands at the same time he remains in his abode, in his place. So this is the inconceivable situation. Then he says, at one point, at one sense, he pervades everything. There's nothing nothing exists without his energy or his presence. At the same time, he is aloof. So the bhakti, as Prabhupada explains here, this is only a process by which we can, first of all, go to that abode, because it has to be some kind of a mental situation, mental attitude to go there. If you want to go to let's say you are France or China or somewhere, and you want to go to German embassy, you have to have a friendly attitude, right? If you are some, Arabian or Italian mafia guy, and you want to blow the whole thing up with a grenade or some kind of explosive thing, and your face probably will show it, nobody will let you in. So if you have this destructive, or in our case, enjoyable mood in a spiritual world, there'll be hundred impediments which will not allow us to go to spiritual world. So therefore, the bhakti, one of the most important parts of bhakti is this attitude of relationships with the owner of the party, of the owner of the abode, the one who is having this relationship with all his friends already. So if we want to join that party, we kind of have to fit in attitude, in activity, in understanding. Yeah, all these things which you mentioned are important. So bhakti, as a Kevala bhakti, is a main principle which we gradually can pick up in our relationships in the material world, and see the people who are most successful in any field, in family life, in the business, in knowledge, in renunciation, they have some kind of bhakti in their attitude, in their heart, in their activities, in their knowledge. So if those things, we pick it up, we understand what's the main principle, why everything works. Right? If you are lazy guy, do your boss will pay you money much? Maybe pay for a while, hoping you're getting better. But after a while, he said, "Sorry, we found some other better candidate. I think he does the job better." Krishna is not like that. Krishna is ready to take everyone. It doesn't matter. Because he is eternal and all merciful, whatever we want to do, he will accept. Yeah. Whatever. He doesn't pick up the activity, what we do. We think in our situation, if situation is good, I can do it. If situation is bad, the karma cannot be done. You know, you have not all the ingredients, so you cannot perform activity. But gradually, when we come to the yoga platform, which is first of all was karma, then jnana, then yoga. Yoga means already what? Meditation. So when we come gradually to meditation, we can understand this is more important than the situation. And he will explain later on in chapters that Krishna says that if you think of me all the time, that's most important. That theme comes through Bhagavad Gita as well. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, we know many cases where situations were not at all favorable. It's the same Queen Kunti, you know. Prabhupada made the whole book out of just her prayers. Her situation was not at all good. But she was praying and she had this devotional attitude. And therefore she was praised for that attitude, for that kind of prayers and glorifications which she gave to Lord despite of these unfavorable situations. So the bhakti as such is completely independent. You can think of Krishna, doesn't matter which situation. I gave already many times example of the forest. We say saints go to the forest. What's the general situation of animals living in the forest? What kind of guna we can say they are exist? Tamaguna, right? At the same time, sages go to the forest and they remain in sattva guna or in bhakti. So, is it so much about environment? Or how you look at that environment? If you connect that forest environment, which is more sattvic than the city or bars or something which is tamaguna, it is better situation. At the same time, maybe that sattvic guna thing, which is also possible to give you conditioning, and which parts of the sattva guna give strong conditioning? Two things. Happiness and sense of knowledge. Pride is more rajaguna. Yeah, we can say there, well, yeah, wages. Sage was proud. No, he was. Generally, if you can say more or less, sattva guna is not so much proud. It's more or less like sense of happiness and sense of knowledge. And sense of knowledge gives a little bit of superiority. Yeah, it's kind of subtle pride as well. It gives like okay, I'm above that. So sage also can be in a forest and being absorbed too much into the things of the happiness and detachment and knowledge. But that's a man's fault, you know. The female energy cannot act in this way. Man has this ability to be from material to spiritual to devotional. Female energy can go only from material to devotional without this kind of intermediate stage. So sannyasa thing as such in a Vedic system doesn't mean you're a devotee. Even brahmana doesn't mean you're a devotee. You're knowledgeable, you detached from the material things, but doesn't mean you become devotional. So that it's kind of a little bit of interesting thing how man's and women's mentalities work, but it's true. So from other point of view, detaching because the female ego is very much attached to those things. It's a little bit more difficult to detach yourself. That's my friends, my country, my family. Man can be more or less detached easily. But for him, actually, the problem is again to become devotional. He can be a little bit of a lazy guy as well. True. And anyways, the principles of those spiritual things which we know from the spiritual world, advanced subjects of interaction of Radha Krishna and his female particles, is projecting to material world. And we have to understand that both these principles working all the time. So when we say Krishna and his energies, we just mentioned here, Prabhupada mentioned here, Krishna expands in his form of material energy. But it's his energy. And though material energy serving him. So our problem is we're not seeing those things of interaction, how even material energy serves Krishna. Receiving knowledge from Krishna himself, receiving knowledge from spiritual masters and giving blessings, we can start to understand those things from here, this situation. We don't have to go far. And then applying and keeping that principle in mind, we can go back to Krishna's world, which there are no possibility of other options, only seeing Krishna and his energies interacting. So therefore, attainable, or as the chapter says, attaining the Supreme is possible by these three things which we can, or actually by Krishna's mercy, we study kind of separately. Activity, the knowledge, the meditation, but each of them put together, plus this attitude or desire of having Krishna's goal, will bring together the total sum bonum of bhakti as such. So all these particles are necessary. Not necessary, they are just undividable. Because if you take one, you think other one is not good. If you too much into working, why to learn? Just work. Why waste time? Just work. And the guys who are too much into the knowledge, what's the point of wasting? Just read, just study. And the yoga says, what's the point of study? The main thing is already clear. You have to meditate. Concentrate your mind. Whatever you do the working or knowledge. Without meditation, it's useless. So each of those things, if you have without the balance, without the proper understanding of things, will make on itself irreligion. It will be kind of independent direction which will lead you away from Krishna. Like in a Christianity here in the modern day, we know, is Protestant religion. People wanted to be praying in any place. And what's wrong with that? Nothing nice. Nothing wrong, The classical church of Catholicism was very, very ritualistic. You have to go to the church, particular place, and you have to do this, and maybe probably chant in Latin, which you don't understand, like we do. We chant in Sanskrit and we don't understand. So why? I wanted to pray in my language and any place I want. But the side effect of the whole thing was you reject the authority of the church. In the classical Protestant Christian tradition, there is no saints. There is no authority, and basically what happens? I'm authority. I want to pray when I want to pray. I'm praying about what I want to pray. It's even joke, what people say about those prayers at lunch, at dinner time. many movies have really make fun of those prayers, Sorry to say, but it's true. What you pray, you thank for the bread, and and if you cannot make me slim and nice, at least make a neighbor girl fat. Such a strange prayers you can hear. This was the Facebook thing was some dog was sitting next to his boy, like at the bedtime in the evening before sleep, and he was praying, like there was something, the boy saying the prayers, and the dog is adding, and please smite the neighbor cat. Kill the neighbor cat, whatever. So, if you go in any direction without understanding all other things and say, this doesn't belong to Krishna, this doesn't connect to Krishna, only my path is right, you always go off the balance. So therefore, gradually, Bhagavad Gita introduces all those subjects, and finally comes to the term of Buddhi Yoga. Connecting all those things by intelligence. Activity, the knowledge, the meditation, but still has to be intelligent, has to be understanding how it connects together. And of course, finally, when the concept is ready, you can change the same understanding, you just add the word proper, which is bhakti, which includes everything. Yeah. If you go into much knowledge, you think, it's nothing. It's impersonalism, You just have to merge into existence, in a happiness, just float somewhere, in a spiritual light. Yeah. All these misunderstandings will be there. And that would be a little bit of even impersonalism, Buddhism, because that liberation, which we quoted, the second thing, you want to get rid of pain and disease and old age and stuff like that. But it's nothing positive. If you want to get rid of pain, you get rid of it, but what are you going to do after? So because you're frustrated with your own misunderstanding and mishappenings in the world, which created the sufferings, you want to get rid of it. And therefore comes this Buddhism, You reject everything, You're completely frustrated, nothing else. And that's how gives the problem in philosophy. Because then it's kind of a little bit of a problem of who is in charge of this world. This is also Christianity's problem. And many other, Zoroastrians or all these things, There's God there, but who's in charge of this world? Even in the Vedic tradition, Maya, Maya is in charge. So, she really gives a problem. So, how Krishna relates then? Krishna is there, Maya is here, Krishna kind of lost control and we are under the spell of Maya, or in Christianity traditions, the Satan is in charge of this world, and the God is so old, he kind of cannot control anymore, All this world is in... My grandmother had this problem at the old age, and she was all life a Christian, but she was also this Protestant thing, Seventh-day Adventist. So at a few years before she left the world, she just looked, this is Satan, this is Satan, this is Satan, You don't see the positive things. So you can go any way without proper spiritual guidance, which is coming from proper source, coming from Lord, through parampara. You will always be lost. There will be always some deviation. And Bhaktivedanta Swami says that, just look, Brahma, he's in the material world. All the sages in material world. Why? Because at some stage they got distracted. They were distracted from bhakti, they were distracted from devotion, and got carried away to some direction, this or that. And Krishna is happy to take everyone back, takes that position which he is now, and give him instructions, give him explanation of his situation, and how to convert, how to start from that position and go back to him. So therefore he says, bhakti is the best. If you can do that, then there's many, many steps. You can do knowledge, you can do charity, you can meditation, so. But still better than that, that's 12th chapter, 12:12, I think so. Yeah. But still better is to meditate. Still the best is to bhakti. So that's the uniqueness of Krishna's teaching, that he accommodates, he gives chance and gives ability. Every person, doesn't matter which situation he is, go back to him while understanding his position, how to go, where to go, why to go. All these things are given in Bhagavad Gita, which we are trying to explain very shortly in this today's verse. So I ask everybody to, in the free time, read as well, to understand those things, and such a way earn Krishna's blessings, since he has to see that we are a bit of serious folks, not just inquisitive ones, you know. Inquisitiveness was one of those three materialistic people. Artha, Jigyasra, Artha, Jigyasra. He would just wants to fulfill his inquisitiveness. And when the inquisitiveness is fulfilled, okay, I want to find something else. So seriousness is a little bit more than just finding out some, okay, I was here for 5 years, bhakti. Now I know everything. Now I have to try another way. Something different. Yeah. I'm get bored. I know everything. Sattva guna, I know everything. Rajaguna, I got bored. And of course, above all, ignorance, because you didn't learn the proper thing. Okay, thank you so much. Maybe you have some questions or comments or criticism. What's the most important you remember from the whole class?
Activity, knowledge, and meditation has to be balanced, and that's good. But more even, we should always connect it with bhakti. Nothing of these three things can be performed in perfection or all three together without bhakti. So bhakti is the essence.
Exactly. The whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to give. Krishna is trying to give this interaction. He's creating the world, he's giving knowledge, he's coming himself, he's sending the saints for one single reason only. He wants to have a fun interaction, fun with us. But it is impossible if those relationships not work. So therefore he is creating the best possible abode. He has the best possible prasad, best possible music, everything. Whatever aspect we are attached here, he gives that in an ultimate quality in his spiritual abode. But we have to kind of allow ourselves to rise that quality higher. We don't have to be humble and, ignorant in material world, to stick to our position and said, oh, this is my position. I can do nothing. You know. This is the story about the two worms in a stool. The father worm and son worm. Two of them were crawling on the top of the pile of shit. stool worms, you know. And a young boy, he asked his father, "What's this thing around?" You know. "Oh, that's a forest. You know. That's the flowers. You know. That's the sun. You know. That's neighbor garden there." "Let's go there," he says. "Let's go. I like those flowers. Let's go there." And the father says, "No, we will stay here." Why? Because this is our home. Yes. So let's not think that this material world is our home. And thanks to association with Bhagavad Gita and devotees, understand where is our eternal home, and don't waste time to go there back. Hare Krishna. Granth Raj Bhagavad Gita ki jai.